It's Friday. It's another happy hour. Hayden's got a beer. I've got an alcoholic beverage. And I'm going to tell, most importantly, I think today, I'm going to tell my Pierre-Luc Dubois umbrella story, which I was going to tell you guys last time. And I just did not do that. So that's all coming up on this very special live happy hour edition of Locked on Blue Jackets.
You're Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, guys? Locked on Blue Jackets. I am Jake Foster, one of the hosts. This is Hayden Halsorn, my wonderful co-host. And it's happy hour. It's Friday. I think we all deserve to have a beer. How's it going, Hayden? How is your, is it Miller Lite you're drinking? How is your Miller Lite treating you?
Yeah, this isn't an ad, but it says on the can a fine Pilsner beer, and it's exactly what I need after a long work week this week. The wife's been out of town, so maybe you can see I got a trash stash going, letting it grow a little bit.
When the wife leaves, Hayden stops shaving. That's how this works.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. Yeah, you're about to be married. You'll find that out.
But you could be if anyone from Miller Lite is listening or watching. This is a YouTube only thing, so just watching. Oh, hey Brandon. I hope you have got an alcoholic beverage, or if not, you are having a good Friday evening. So I figured we would kind of start off with a story that I have kind of half told on the podcast a couple of times. I've told it on a couple of other podcasts. And there was a tweet going around a couple of weeks ago that was like, what's the weird, like, have you ever had like a really weird interaction with an NHL player? And the answer is yes. Yes, I have. So I have a friend. I've told Hayden this story. I'll try and cut it down because it's quite a long, complicated story, but
it's a good one though.
I think it's worth it. I think it really pays off. So it would have been 2017, I believe. So Pierre-Luc Dubois' rookie season. I am in Minneapolis visiting a friend. Her daughter was 11 years old at the time, and she loved to go to where the bus was, meet the players, she has hockey cards. She loved to get them signed. And the Blue Jackets were in town, and so they were like, hey, do you want to come? Do you want to come and see if we can, get either like my hat or whatever, or my jersey, get something signed? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Unfortunately, it rains like the world is ending. So none of the players show up, basically. Ryan Murray shows up with his umbrella and wanders off towards the XL Center because the hotel is basically walking distance from the XL where the Wild play. I see in the distance a bunch of the Blue Jackets kind of hiding under the awning, and they all climb into cabs and go. Hayden's favorite part of this, I believe, is Artemi Panarin wanders out, ignores the fans kind of standing here, gets on the bus, and then he's the only person that gets on the bus, and then it just leaves. Just him. The bus drives just him over to XL, which is very funny. But as we're waiting, and I'm like, we're thinking, do we give up? It's raining a lot. The players are clearly not interested. Someone wanders past us in what looks like an extremely expensive suit. No jacket, no coat, no umbrella, nothing. It is brand new 19-year-old Pierre-Luc Dubois in his rookie season. Enormous teenager. In what is very clearly like a $700 suit.
You couldn't see his tats, right? Okay.
No, he was wearing the full jacket, but just just a big child. And he didn't have anything. And so my friend, because she's a mother, was like, you're gonna get soaking wet. That suit is probably worth an entire month's rent to me. Take my umbrella. And he was like, how am I gonna he was like, I can't do that. And she was like, yeah, no, you can't. Take the umbrella. I'll feel really bad if your suit gets ruined in the rain. And he was like, how am I gonna give it back to you? And she was like, it's fine. It's a $10 umbrella from Target. I don't care. And he takes it and he wanders off towards XL. And we disappear. We go and try and dry off before the game. Blue Jackets end up winning the game. Alex Wennberg in overtime, which you love You'd love to see it. And then we're getting dinner, or we're getting lunch, I think, the next day while her daughter is on like a weekend hockey like camp thing. And we're getting lunch, and her phone dings with like a Twitter notification, and it's a direct message from Pierre-Luc Dubois, like, "Hey, I still have your umbrella. Do you want it back?" And she was like,
find her? How did he find her on Twitter? That's insane.
I know, right? I think so. She tweeted. She didn't at him or anything, but she tweeted something along the lines of, "Well, just donated my umbrella to Pierre-Luc Dubois. You're welcome." Something along those lines. And so he's clearly like maybe been name searching or something. And so yeah, he messages her and is like, "Hey, do you want your umbrella back? We're practicing tomorrow. There's the rink where the Gopher women play at Ridder. It's called. This is the time. If you guys want to come and watch practice, and then I'll give you your umbrella back." And we're like, well, obviously, we're going to go and watch practice, That's the appeal to me. I don't care about the stupid umbrella. So we head down, we go and we watch practice. It's a lot of fun. And then at the end, Pierre-Luc Dubois kind of skates over to where we're sitting, and he's like, "So I don't have the umbrella because I lost it." Which makes me think that he just left it in the hotel room because he's 19 and an idiot. But I got you guys a signed stick. And so obviously my friend's 11-year-old is just over the moon with this. And yeah, Pierre-Luc Dubois stole my friend's umbrella and left it in a hotel room in Minneapolis somewhere, which is very funny. Or it's somewhere in like the depths of Excel, which is also very funny. A little kind of aside to this is I was wearing my Nick Foligno jersey, which is not hanging up at the minute, unfortunately. I switched it out for a different one, but I was wearing my Nick Foligno jersey, and we turned to leave, and then my friend's like, Jay, and like pointing behind me, and so I turn around, and Nick Foligno's like tapping on the glass with his stick, and he's like, "Hey, nice jersey." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, you too," which is a weird thing to say. Like I panicked.
That's good. No, that's
good. So he gave me his stick as well, which it wasn't signed or anything, but it was like practice used. And so yeah, I'm still in Minnesota because I was like, how am I going to get this on a plane? How do I fly with a hockey stick? And so that was 6 years ago, and it's still there. So I'm going to retrieve it at some point. But so yeah, that's my Pierre-Luc Dubois stole my friend's umbrella story. It brings me such joy every time I tell it.
Good story.
Just this giant teenager wearing what is clearly like the most expensive suit I've ever seen. And okay, here's the thing as well is that bus hadn't left at that point, and so he like looked at the bus and I guess assumed it wasn't for him, and then was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna walk in the pouring rain in this really expensive suit," and then yeah. He stole my friend's like plaid Target umbrella and then lost it forever. So that's my fun, weird interaction with an NHL player. It's a story that is difficult to tell short, so I don't tell it on the podcast very often because we are now 8 minutes and 34 seconds in, and I'm still telling this story. So that's my weird story, and hopefully you guys. I'm so sorry. Someone added me on Twitter and was like, "I want to hear the story," and I don't remember what your Twitter handle is, but hopefully you are listening, and hopefully this brings you as much joy as it did to me when it happened. So that's kind of that in terms of my story. I don't know if you have a fun story, Hayden. We could solicit some questions from the audience. I don't know what do you want to talk about for a while.
I just want to say, getting a signed stick like that is way, way cooler to me. Way, way cooler to me than getting a signed stick like from an auction. Okay, I guess like, yeah, it's cool. I guess you're a baller. You have a lot of money, but you don't even know if those players signed it. Like you got handed a stick from the team, from the players. Darn well they signed that. You know what I mean? So
for sure. And I do like to think that he had to go to the equipment manager like just before practice, like, "Hey, I need to give one of my sticks to someone because I stole their umbrella and lost it." But yeah, I don't know. And this is the thing. Pierre-Luc Dubois gets a bad rap for being a diva. and having a bad attitude and, essentially throwing a bunch of tantrums, I will always have a soft spot for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and I don't know if it's because he played for the Blue Jackets. I don't know if it's because a lot of people said he was going to be bad, and I was like, well, now he's my favorite player because everyone wanted the Blue Jackets to draft Jesse Puljujarvi, which obviously didn't work out for him in Edmonton either way. Or is it because he's just a big himbo? I don't know. He seems like a nice guy that is just not very smart. Sorry, Pierre-Luc, but
well, no, I mean he is a smart guy. We know that his emotional intelligence is up there, based off that story, but also, when Matisse passed away, he came back to Columbus to be around the team.
He changed his number.
Yeah, he changed his number.
That's why he wears 80 now. So,
and
he gets a bad rep, but I'm very fond of him, and probably always will be. And I'm glad that he plays for a team that I don't hate.
His beef was with Torts. It wasn't even with Columbus. He clearly had beef with Torts. And so it just felt like maybe he did hate Columbus, but at the end of the day, it kind of felt like Torts was the reason he left more than it was Columbus. So I never really held it against him oh, that guy stunk.
I've heard a bunch of conflicting stories. I think it was probably a little bit of everything, or not necessarily everything, but I think I think he didn't super get on well with Torts. I think there was some friction in the locker room with a couple of the guys, and I think sometimes you're 21 and you want to go somewhere else and you don't know how to make that happen. So you're just well,
so you stop
having a tantrum about it. I was exactly I wasn't having a tantrum because I didn't want to live in Columbus at the age of 21, but when I was 21, I was an idiot. I didn't know how to do stuff. So I was well, I guess I'm just going to be really, really annoying and hope for the best. This wasn't supposed to be a Pierre-Luc Dubois centric show, but
well, I have a question for you though. Kind of off Pierre-Luc Dubois, but based off the story is how I came up with this question, because it's always being debated. Should we make the players wear suits to the game? This situation would have never happened if he would have just been wearing, normal clothes that are just normal streetwear. You probably wouldn't have had that revelation oh, he needs an umbrella. But we know that the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, but we all know that all those athletes get to express themselves in different way, and they wear different crazy clothes. And those are definitely moments where I'm okay, you're too rich because you think that looks good. That looks terrible, my dude, what you're wearing. But
I don't know. Sometimes you just want to spend $200 on a white t-shirt and be done with it. I hate the concept of wearing suits for games. I get the logic behind it. We're going to work. You have to look professional. We have to look like a team, To me, it feels rooted in the idea that hockey is such an insular sport and it's for a specific group of people. And yes, those people are typically rich and white, in the same way that I think a lot about Lou Lamoriello's rules. If you can't have facial hair, you can't have long hair, and then you think about a couple of teams relaxed the dress code a couple of seasons ago. I think it was Toronto and I want to say Arizona. Well, you don't have to wear suits, but don't show up in sweatpants, but you don't have to wear suits. And then a bunch of the Leafs turned up in, essentially streetwear, and it looked fine. But I think people were oh God, how can they possibly be ready to play a hockey game if they turn up in a t-shirt? It's just, I don't know, turning up in a suit. I know some people talk about it makes them feel like they're getting it's a routine and it helps them feel like they're getting ready for the game. But honestly, I don't know, man. I work for a third tier British hockey team. They don't wear suits to games. What they did was they got apparel made, so they all have the same t-shirt, hoodie, sweatpants, hat, and that's what they wear to the games, And so it gives you that idea of being a team, but does not mean that you have to wear a suit. I think the Blue Jackets did that in the bubble. Maybe they had Blue Jackets polo shirts made, presumably because they were staying in Edmonton or Toronto for 6 weeks and didn't want to bring 6 weeks worth of suits. But I don't know, I think the whole thing is stupid. and unnecessary. But I think a lot of things about like hockey traditions, quote unquote, are unnecessary. So
That's a very interesting point about the kind of upstandingness that goes along with hockey, and that's what it's rooted in. I think you're absolutely right on that. I will say, when I was in middle school and high school, this is going to expose myself for not knowing puck as much as you think that I do, and which some of you know that I don't know that much puck. But I used to wrestle in high school, and our wrestling coach made us wear shirts and ties to school. And honestly, that was huge because like then I learned how to do a tie, but then again, I was like 15 at the time. Like these guys are at least 18 doing this. And I will say they're not like Pierre-Luc Dubois probably felt so stupid putting on a suit for like 10 minutes essentially because he's going to walk out of the hotel lobby, grab your umbrella, walk across the street to the XL Center, walk down the hallway, get a picture taken of him, and then probably take it off and get into his warm-ups. Like that is pretty stupid to spend pretty much all the time you spent getting it on just to spend the same amount of time wearing it. That probably feels ridiculous, especially 80 times a year. But it is a good look. Like I love that Patrick Laine does it. Like, I mean, athletes still find ways to express themselves, but maybe
Patrick Laine, I think, does a really good job skirting that line of like, it looks awful, but I respect the hell out of the purple satin like pajama look that he has.
Yeah, he looks like a pimp.
Like it looks awful. It looks terrible. And I am I'm a fan of Patrick Laine's fashion. I think what he's doing is what everyone else thinks Austin Matthews is doing, but better. And so yeah, I respect. I think there's a way to kind of have fun with it. Unless you play for a team that's coached by like the corpse of Lou Lamoriello, in which case you're not allowed to have any personality ever. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I hate suits and like I've never really had a job that's required me to wear a suit. Like I've either been working in hospitality or the service industry, or like I had an office job for like 9 months. They made us wear suits the first day, and then we're like, and now you can wear what you want. We just wanted to make sure that you knew how to dress up. And then they gave us a tour of the office, and I was like, that dude is wearing shorts and slides. I hate this. And so, yeah, after that, I just kind of turned up in jeans and a hoodie because that was.
How about this? Can I put a request out there? I'm totally cool with them dropping the suits thing now that I've thought about it a little bit more. As much as I like to see the players in the suits, I think it's a good look because, you know, the announcers, the coaches are wearing suits. It's just good to dress up. But at the same time, they are players, you know, compared to the other 3 major sports, they get paid significantly less. So, like, can we just relax a little? I just want it to be consistent, whatever it is. Like, I want that team to either all wear, like, their team colors. Like, you can wear whatever you want. Just be wearing, like, Blue Jackets colors or something. Mm-hmm. Or, like, I don't know. I'd still like to see everybody uniform. And I don't know. It is pretty funny when they do it in the NBA. As much as I trash on, like, that, it's pretty entertaining to see how dumb they will show up.
Okay, that being said, I think, like, honestly, my favorite, like, walk-in videos, you know who's killing it in terms of, like, pre-game fashion? The WNBA. Every single woman in that league looks incredible on their way into a game. Like, just straight fire. I love it. Like, I don't follow the WNBA, but I do watch all of the walk-in videos because I think they all look so good. Like, that's who they should be. That's who they should be emulating. Is that kind of fashion? I think maybe not specifically that, but that level.
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, some people clearly show that they have a fashion taste, and it's always the bad ones that I end up seeing. So, like, I need to do it. Maybe if they started doing it in the sport that I watch and cover, I will learn to appreciate it more. But the bad ones just stick out the most in those sports sometimes. But there's a guy named Arthur in here that said Leeds United Service Crew. Is that like some sort of a new age dig at my MLS soccer team that I have in town? This Leeds United Service Crew. Is that like, what does that word service mean? Does that mean like they're just going to serve them?
I genuinely couldn't tell you. I'm not going to lie.
I
do want to shout out Locked On Marlins, though. I don't know if you're still hanging around. Peter is also a Brit, working in the Locked On podcast network. So shout out to him. I believe we are the only 2 Brits in the network. And I love that for us personally. I don't know a whole ton about the Miami Marlins, but I do root for them just because I'm like, yeah, got to root for my guy Peter and his team. So,
how are the Marlins doing? Can we do a quick Marlins check?
let's do a Marlins check.
Let's do a
They were doing
random
real
Marlins
well for a minute. Miami sports is like really on the up, I think.
They really are, yeah.
I don't think we want to talk about the Dolphins, but how are the Marlins doing?
I don't know.
They're third in the NL East, apparently.
Welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets Happy Hour. We're talking Marlins.
Yeah, we're talking about the Miami Marlins. It's fine.
The Marlins are
okay, so here's
7 games above 500. So good job,
I like baseball a lot in theory. Like I went to a Twins game when I was in Minneapolis, had a ton of fun. I went to a minor league game.
How was that, by the way? That was your first ever baseball game.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I ate a ton of food and drank a lot of hard seltzers, and it was 95 degrees outside. It was great.
Welcome to baseball.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a big fan of, I think because all of my sports are like quote unquote indoor sports, the concept of like just getting day drunk in the sun while watching sport like that feels like that's a really good time. You can't do that with hockey. You can get like evening drunk inside where it's cold, but you can't get day drunk in the sun. And I feel like that's a big part of like why people love baseball and football so much, is that it is like a social thing. That might be because I care less about baseball than hockey. Like if I go to hockey and someone behind me is just talking and treating it like a social event, I do want to like turn around and shush them. Yeah. We have, so my partner and I have moved seats before because the people behind us were being so annoying.
It was me.
So
I was the person behind.
And it was okay. So it wasn't that they were being annoying; they were just being incorrect. And I was like, if we don't move, I'm gonna turn around and be that guy that like is like, well, actually, this is this and this, you know. And I don't want to be that guy.
No, because then you're gonna end up on a video of you fighting in the upper bowl, and it's gonna be a Blue Jacket.
Right. I'm gonna get kicked out of I'm gonna get kicked out of SAP Center for fighting some idiot who doesn't know how the offside rule works. But like, we went to a Sharks game, and there was a dude behind us that was doing the defense clap from football. And I'm like, you can't do that at a hockey game. It doesn't work like that. Like it's. I don't know. It bothered me a lot, more than it should have done. Maybe I'm the problem here, but I don't know.
So let me ask you this: now that we're on the conversation of annoying hockey fans at games, how do you feel about when the team is on the power play and it's just shoo? Like
again, it's kind of a tradition at this point. I don't hate it as much as I hate other things. That being said, I do love when people ask the players, like, do you hear them chanting shoot? And they're like, yeah, I don't know what they want from us. Like that has actually occurred to us before, Yeah. It doesn't bother me. I can imagine it probably bothers the players more. I don't know. I got a lot of time in when I was in San Jose. The Sharks were on the road a lot, so we would go to Barracuda games in the AHL, which were a lot of fun. That is the rowdiest arena in terms of like chirping both your own fans and also other fans.
So sorry, which arena did you say? Which arena?
The San Jose Barracuda in the AHL. Nice. Those fans, they love to chirp. Is it their own team? Is it the other team? Like one dude spent a full period. We watched the Barracuda and the Henderson Silver Knights, who have the chrome helmets that look real dumb. He spent genuinely an entire period just chanting about how stupid the helmets are, which I kind of respect. That being said, Brandon has a question for us. We should probably answer it because otherwise it's just going to be us talking a lot of crap for the entire happy hour. The draft was amazing for us with Fantilli and Brindley, but I'm curious about Voronkov. What are your thoughts on him? Hayden, do you have thoughts on Dmitry Voronkov at this moment in time?
Haven't seen much of him, but from all I hear and all I can read, he's killing it when he played in Russia. I mean, the dude was like a point a game guy over there. 6'3" forward. We always got room for, guys that want to show up. Yeah. If he wants to play center, yeah. Is he running himself at center? Is he playing center?
He can play either. I personally would put him at wing, I think. But I think having more guys that can play center is never a bad thing. And I would like to see at some point this season an all-Russian line of Chidakov, Voronkov, and Marchenko. I think that would be a lot of fun. Dmitry Voronkov had 31 points in 54 KHL games this season as a 22-year-old. So it's pretty damn impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sleep on this kid. I think there's a lot of Fantilli hype. There's a lot of Jiricek hype. Don't sleep on Dmitry Voronkov. I don't think he's going to be like Kirill Kaprizov, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And that's kind of the impact. You get that a lot with Russian players. You know, I mean, look at Kirill Marchenko. Comes over at 22, 23. He's been developing for the past 4 years and immediately steps in and is NHL ready. You know, you don't get that with other like North American prospects typically. They'll come over, they'll, turn pro when they turn 20, or, they'll finish college and come over, and there'll be like an adjustment period. He's been playing in a men's league basically since he was, before he was drafted even, I think. His first season in the KHL was the season before it was drafted. He only played 3 games, but when you're 17 and you're playing in the KHL, that's a good sign, you know? You have muted yourself again.
Well, I muted myself. Yeah, thank you. Jeez.
There you go.
I was just going to say, if you're playing in the KHL at 17 years old, you're a man at that point already. Like, you have to be.
And like that's why I'm a big fan of Leo Carlsson as well. As everyone talks about how he's not as dynamic as Fantilli and he's not as exciting as Fantilli. He was playing in the SHL as an 18-year-old and putting up the kinds of numbers that the Sedin twins were putting up. You know, like I know the easy thing is to dunk on the Ducks for missing out on Fantilli. Leo Carlsson's going to be real good for them. You know.
Listen, they drafted a player that they felt fit their team now. That's all. They wanted to go that route. They wanted to get a big, hefty center. And I just, from the eyeball check, I can tell Leo Carlsson little bit bigger, I think. Just a little bit more of that big rig kind of Ryan Getzlaf style. That's what they wanted. So I think we can easily excuse them for that. Like, hey, we understand. You wanted that guy. We were excited about that guy. We're glad it flipped the other way. We want this guy more.
Right. But I would not have been like tearing my shirt off and howling at the moon if despair if we had drafted Leo Carlsson. You know, I would have been disappointed if we drafted Will Smith, which is a whole other conversation. But big fan of Voronkov is the answer here.
What about Gavin Brindley? He threw that guy in that question.
I love Gavin Brindley so much. Yeah. Gavin Brindley to me is he's got that Alex DeBrincat energy of like he's short, he's not gonna let that bother him, you know. Or to compare him to a different Michigan guy, Nick Blankenburg is 5'8", you know. He plays like he's 6'6". You know, I lost count of how many times you're watching a game and then just all of a sudden you watch Nate Blankenburg just like destroy some dude against the boards. You know,
just evil pop somebody.
I don't think that Brindley's going to do that, but he is tenacious. He is a tiny little pit bull.
Mm-hmm.
And I think looking at the players that were still on the board, I personally would probably have taken Andrew Cristal over Gavin Brindley in terms of skill, but Gavin Brindley falling to 34th, he's a guy that I would have taken at 22nd if we'd still had that pick. So the fact that he was still there at 34, I am over the moon.
When we had Sam McGilligan on, who reviewed the draft with us, he had Gavin Brindley going as high as 10 at one point. Like this guy, like Sam McGilligan might be over the moon, way too excited about Gavin Brindley, but he believes that he is a surefire thing in the NHL. Like his skills, everything that he possesses right now is going to translate seamlessly. So he's got, I assume, one more year of hockey at U of M. So,
but the thing is that I don't need to rush him.
You know? We don't.
He could do 2 more years at Michigan, and I would be fine with that.
You can transfer to Ohio State. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Probably wouldn't get as close to the Frozen Four, but
Yeah.
I would be okay with that. Michigan would very not be okay with that. But yeah, I don't know. Brindley, I think, is not going to be a guy he's not going to be a top line guy, I don't think, but he's going to be a very, very good middle six guy who can play with Fantilli on the power play, and hopefully they can recreate some of that magic they had in college, because they came back from World Juniors, I think it was, it would have been in January, and Brindley was the best player on that team. Fantilli was good. Brindley was the best player on that team after World Juniors. I'm excited. I know I say this every year, but I'm excited about the Blue Jackets going forward,
Yeah. Zach Werenski was talking to some media members after the Cap City Elite League, and somebody brought up, there's a lot of Michigan guys around now, and he's like, yeah, we should just be playing Hail to the Victors all throughout.
Oh, people got real mad about that. I saw
that. Is my living purgatory right there. Like, that is just no. But hey, you put a Stanley Cup banner up there in the rafters, you can wheel Hail to the Victors.
Zach Werenski scores the Stanley Cup winning goal. He can play whatever he wants. He can turn that into their goal song for all I care. I'm probably biased because I don't really have a feeling one way or the other. I'm more familiar with Michigan just because that's where a lot of the Blue Jackets prospects have come from. And I know that's kind of sacrilege for a Blue Jackets podcast host to be like, OSU doesn't really mean that much to me. Like, my best friend went to OSU, so there's that. But
listen, there's a lot of people that are Blue Jackets fans that despise Ohio State. Like, it's a completely normal thing. It's just I happen to be fans of both, so that's where my headset is at. And I'm a big college hockey fan because they're doing a lot better job putting guys in the NHL. So it's really, really exciting. It's really exciting to watch, especially if you live in Columbus, because we got Big Ten teams coming all the time. William Whitelaw is going to be playing for Wisconsin next year. Mm-hmm. He's going to be coming down. Yep. So yeah, they play 2 games a night there every weekend. It's great to see that. Like, I just feel like
really that's fun way to see your team's prospect.
Yeah.
In the same way that, you don't get to see the CHL prospects very often because obviously the Canadian Hockey League, it's all in Canada and the very upper limits of Michigan, and I think there's some teams in upstate New York. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, if you can go to Buckeyes hockey games, you should. But first of all, I know I say this every time Buckeyes hockey comes up. Support the women's team.
Oh yes, of course.
They are killing it.
They actually do go.
They're going to win the Natty this year.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. I'm manifesting it. But the men's Buckeyes team, you don't even have to go and support the Buckeyes. But like you said, you can go and see William Whitelaw. Last year Corson Coolermans was in town playing for Wisconsin. The Blue Jackets have. Where is James Fisher? I'm sure James Fisher, one of the Blue Jackets 7th round draft picks, is playing in the NCAA this season, and I can't remember what team it is. I am. He's going to Northeastern. He's going to Northeastern next season. So 24-25, James Fisher will be playing Northeastern, which is another Big Ten team, if I am not mistaken.
No, unfortunately not. No, that's Northwestern. They are a football school, though. They don't have any hockey, there's too much NCAA hockey. There is. Everybody forgive Jay, guys.
I know. I do know. I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
You do. You do.
But my point still stands, I think, and even if you don't want to go see Blue Jackets prospects, Logan Cooley was box office at Minnesota this season, You know
what people need to start doing? If they don't want to go to NCAA hockey, go into some Youngstown Phantom games. We've been drafted from there.
Yeah.
We've been drafting guys from there. Go check out. There's so many places to go watch these players play before they become NHL guys. And, just one more thought on the NCAA. I went and watched Ohio State play Michigan twice last year in hockey, and I didn't even know that Fantilli and Brindley were Blue Jackets at the time, and I did not enjoy watching them play because they weren't Blue Jackets at the time. But it's nice knowing that those guys that carved up those Buckeyes are now. I'm going to root for them. That is a nice.
And
So
hey, they're still wearing blue, so it's basically the same thing, you know?
they're practicing. It's just it's the uglier blue, but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. We have been going for about 35 minutes here. I think we'll probably go for another 10 to 15 or so. I got to finish my hard cider. I don't know if people have more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to have to think of some content off the top of my head. If I'd thought, I would have solicited questions from our wonderful Twitter followers, and I did not do that because I'm a disaster. So, okay. Oh, here you go. Here's something we're going to talk about next week. Actually, no spoilers, but Hayden, who do you think is making the playoffs from the Metropolitan Division this season?
Good question, Jay. Well, I think the Penguins have gotten better, which is scary because they didn't make it last year, which was great. Them not.
I know. I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they're getting better. I think the Rangers are going to be just as good. I kind of want to see. I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that the Devils are going to take a step back. I don't know how they take a step back.
No, something would have to go really, really wrong for the Devils to miss the playoffs, I think.
Well, their coach, Brunette, got hired by the Predators, and I'm not saying that he was the whole reason why they were successful. Obviously,
No, it's going to be interesting to see how Lindsey Ruff does without Brunette on his staff.
Agreed. And I also be interesting to see how the Devils play with all that pressure of, having to do what they just did, because I feel like teams definitely they gain advantage from sneaking up on teams rather. And like nobody last year thought the Devils were going to be good. Nobody did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of hoping that they take a step back. Gosh, you can never count out the Islanders. Wasn't Barzal?
The Islanders don't scare me.
But wasn't
I'm
Barzal
not afraid of the Islanders. They are an Ilya Sorokin injury away from being a lottery team.
Very good point. Very good point.
The Hurricanes are going to be good.
Yeah,
the Hurricanes are always good. It's again really annoying. And they got better as well. They were really good last season, and then they came out and they signed Dmitry Orlov, which I think is a fantastic signing. They signed Michael Bunting, which I think is fine. The Tony DeAngelo signing is a bit confusing, but I don't know. The Hurricanes are going to be good, which is really annoying. So, like looking at the list, I'm like, it could very well be. And I talked about this on Locked On NHL, which I host on Thursdays with Hunter Hodes of Locked On Penguins, which is fine as long as we don't talk about Blue Jackets and Penguins games. You could very easily see 5 playoff teams from Metro this season. I think Hurricanes make it, Devils make it, Rangers probably make it, and then I wouldn't be surprised, hot take, I wouldn't be surprised to see the final 2 spots come down between the Penguins, the Islanders, and the Blue Jackets.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to be in that mix. Pretty much the one team you left out is the Flyers. And yeah, we kind of need them to be bad. We cannot have the Flyers come in this year and be competitive by no means.
They will not be. They are doing that thing where they trade everyone with a pulse.
Yeah.
Like Ivan Provorov was their only real defenseman, and they got rid of him. And they killed it at the draft. Danny Briere doing a real good job at rebuilding this team already. They're going to be real good starting in 2026 when Michkov comes over from Russia. That's when I think they're going to start being competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting them to be competitive this season.
I don't expect
goaltending.
To be there.
They don't have scoring
either. I don't expect
Torts Connect me and a bunch of some guys.
Yeah, and like I just said, I don't expect Torts to be there by the time Michkov comes in. I feel like he should be well retired by then. I'm sure he hopes to keep going at that point, but I think this year he might get fired. Torts.
I don't know. Torts is a coach that he's a short-term coach.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, he tears all the floorboards up and puts new floorboards down, and then he's like, well, I'm done now. And that was the problem with the Blue Jackets, is I feel like he outstayed his welcome a little bit. And I feel like he's probably on the precipice of doing that with the Flyers as well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as much as I love him, I don't think his style is working I think it worked to its fullest in Columbus, and then it just it died off after that. He got a bunch of guys to play his way, and it worked. His way works. I just don't think his voice carries the same way. And just the Flyers organization is in a decrepit state with their owner being Comcast and everything. It's actually a really sad situation going on in Philadelphia. Well, not sad for me because, I'm obviously a
less competition rival for us in the Metro. Yeah.
Yes. We need somebody to be bad. So if the Flyers would just take that, and even if the Islanders could please take that, just be bad, that would be great too. But I don't know, man. Yeah, it's going to be a fun conversation.
Probably on the way out. The Caps are getting old. So, there's always that. But yeah, I think the Blue Jackets are really going to be in the mix.
Barring that they stay healthy. That's always the thing, man.
Knock on wood, as I do every time I talk about the Blue Jackets being healthy this season. Yeah,
and the goalie's got to play better. But that's it.
need to get a bounce back season from Buzz Leakins.
Yes.
If they get league average goaltending out of Buzz Leakins this season, I'm counting that as a victory. And I think the team will be much, much better. Let's call it there. Because I think people are starting to wander out. And also, I'm tired and would like to go to bed because it's 11:41 p.m. here.
Holy cow.
I am an old man. So next week, tomorrow, we're going to have a bonus episode out. We're going to talk about the two Jakes, Jake Christensen and Jake Bean, how they did this season, and how they will do next season, whether they'll be in the lineup, whether they'll be on the team, things like that. And then on Monday, an episode that we're really excited about is we're going to be taking a look at how Mike Babcock uses his defense, and how that could either benefit the Blue Jackets or sink the Blue Jackets, because there's a lot of moving pieces there. I am in the middle of doing a ton of research in terms of ice time and line combinations and things like that. So that's going to be Monday's episode, which is really exciting. And we're also going to look a little bit at Zach Werenski's comments on Mike Babcock, which were either somewhere on Twitter or in an Athletic article that I read, and I don't remember which one it was.
They're out there. He was after the Cap City Elite League game, which he looked good in, man. I was nice to see him on skates again and, moving the puck around.
He feels good. He feels healthy.
Yeah, he looks good. I mean, it's just a beer league game, so it doesn't mean crap, but yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of it for us. Like I say, check out tomorrow's episode about the two Jakes. Tune in Monday for the Mike Babcock discussion. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter @_Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find Hayden over at HaydenH971. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email us at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. We'll do this again probably in a couple of weeks. I think we're going to try and do this, every other Friday. So it'll be August 11th, I think will be the next one, which is... put that in your calendar, I guess, if you are interested in doing that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to hang out. Hopefully you guys had as much fun as we did. And you'll see us tomorrow, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.